Good morning. I am so happy to be here. Here's the deal. This last 24 hours, I'm new to Tag Talks. And this last 24 hours, I have gotten to know you all. And some of you, I'm going to get to know you. But here's what's so cool. There is a through line between all of us as speakers, as writers, as creators, as entrepreneurs. Do you know what the through line I'm feeling is? Impact. There is not a soul in this room who does not long to offer meaningful work, a story, a message to the world that creates impact. But I want to read you something I wrote in my morning pages this morning. If you don't do this, I so recommend it. Julia Cameron has a process called the Artist's Way, and it's about morning pages, and you do 3 pages a morning, stream of consciousness, just right. And I wrote this morning, setting my intention. May I inspire because I'm real, not because I'm some form of today's version of impressive. May I be of impact. And so I'm going to talk about the enemy to impact, I believe could be being impressive. Because we all are speakers, we're writers, we're creators. Again, we want to make a splash. It's how we're made, it's how we're wired. But it's real easy to get caught up in impressive. So I'm going to give you 2 things that I have learned, and I want you to write these down. I invite you to do so. You'll see why shortly. First quote is from Elizabeth Gilbert. She's one of us. She's a speaker, she's an author, she's a world stage, Eat, Pray, Love, City of Girls, Big Magic. If you're a creator, read Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert. And she said this: we can make both beauty and progress and still live inside our real lives. I really encourage you, jot that down. We can make both beauty and progress and still live inside our real lives. We can create our finest magic and art. Whatever you're doing, it's magic, it's art. And simultaneously move through our most difficult seasons of life. And then this morning I was thinking about this: transparency plus acceptance equals growth. And I made my own little math equation because I was like, Raoul won't mind if I make my own math equation. Real life plus expressed equals impact. So now let's go back to impact. And I think the best way, if we know the enemy of impact is trying to be impressive. I remember I learned this because my coach, Casey Baker, who taught me about speaking, she taught me about coaching. She said, you know what, when a client comes to me and says, I want to be so impressive on that stage, she's like, they're not the client for me. When a client comes to me and says, I have got to make an impact, she goes, that's my client. So that's the ethos I operate under as well, and that's what I want to bring. So we have to start with a real story, right? Tags about stories and our truest ones. And I have tried to be impressive for many, many years, and it got me so far. We can be performative and people-pleasing and palatable, and we can do all those things. But it gets us so far. But then there's real stories. About a year ago, I remember waking up one morning, and just as I woke up, immediately upon opening my eyes, I felt it descend upon me, this darkness, this despair. And I remember thinking, oh my God, no. Oh God, please no, please no, please no, please no. Not today. I've got a workshop. I'm leaving on a trip internationally with my kids tomorrow for this amazing vacation we planned for. No, please, God. And you see, what was going on there was that was a little picture or a snapshot of what the previous 7 months had been. I call it my trifecta. I was experiencing the most painful season of depression and anxiety I had ever known. And it was this trifecta of a medical condition, hormones were out of whack. This body did not produce serotonin, there was no joy. Second, I'd initiated the end of my marriage. Third, I suddenly, after age 50, realized, whoa, I have been absorbing all kinds of sadness and pain and grief from everybody in my life forever. I'd become this receptacle for it, and none of it was moving. I love that Raoul talked about emotion and energy in motion. Emotion does have energy, and man, if we don't move it, it lives right here. Woo! Right here. Doesn't leave. And I realized, oh, I got a lot of that. I got decades of it. I remember feeling like a sponge that had to be wrung out because there wasn't room for another drop. I was maxed out. So that, my loving trifecta, created this season of depression and anxiety. So back to that morning, I remember waking up going, oh my God, no, I thought I was past this. I was so sure I was doing better. I'd been doing therapy. I'd been energy healers, regular doctors, psychedelic psychotherapy, ketamine. I'm telling you, I was doing anything I could do to feel better and to heal. And so I thought, surely we're past this. Well, we weren't. Now, here's what's really important. In that moment, I wish I had known that quote and that we can create art and beauty out of even the messy stuff in life. But I was getting there. Because I remembered in that moment literally pleading, God, universe, source, spirit guides. I mean, I was calling in everyone because I was just like, I need you. All that I live and move and have my being in, please help me. And I remembered something. A friend of mine who was a therapist said, Jen, what if you could just feel these feelings? What if you could let them, sit with them, just sit with them, feel them and process them, metabolize them, let them move through your body, maybe they'll even kind of move out. And I thought, I can't go there because do you ever have that feeling where you think to yourself, if I go here, I will never make it back out? Anyone? Yeah. I thought, if I go there, I can't make it back out. That's scary. So what I did is I then remembered the oddest thing. The first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only change form or can move from object to object. And if emotions, those emotions that were in my body that needed to be felt and processed and had to move out, they had to go somewhere. I mean, the first law of thermodynamics, I don't make this stuff up, it's just what it is. And I thought, okay, if I sit with these, if I process these, instead of numbing them, instead of shoving them down, instead of trying to fix them, instead of ignoring them, which is what I'd done for 50 years, I'm gonna move this stuff out. I'm gonna sit with these feelings and see what they're there to teach me and move them out if they're ready to go. So I thought, okay, this energy has form, has to go somewhere. So I was desperate, y'all. I took a vase of water that was next to my bed. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this. I am gonna just take this day and I'm gonna feel the feelings and I'm gonna process them. Now, do any of you have that taskmaster though, that in your head that goes, oh, don't be so precious. You have work to do. You have a workshop. You have things to be doing. Time to buck up, little girl. Let's double down, move through this. Let's just ignore this for now. You do not have time. That is an indulgence you don't have time for. No. And for you to cancel appointments and call in sick, self-employed, but canceling appointments, no, we don't do that. That was the narrative, right? Everything must be productive. And I went, no, I'm gonna trust this. So I canceled my appointments and I laid in bed and I hugged this vase to my chest. And the remorse and the regret and the pain and the waves of grief. I know there's probably not a person here who has not felt that at some point. and the sobbing. I remember I'm holding this vase and tears, snot, it was not impressive, not impressive. I remember coughing, dry heaving, just like all of it. It was so much. It was excruciating, it was raw. But I just kept working through it and sitting with it and just letting whatever wave come at me, I let it come. After a few hours, I remember I kind of half fell asleep, and then I woke up and I felt a little lighter, maybe a little bit of a buoyancy to it. I still felt really worn, I felt tender, but I felt different. And I remember taking that vase and thinking, okay, here we go. And I took that vase outside, and I dumped that water in the soil with all of its grief and energy. And I thought, Mother Nature in all her wisdom can transmute that. She can alchemize that. That darkness, that grief, that water, she can transmute it to something good. And I remember thinking, make something pretty out of this, because this is a mess. And I just left that water there, and went back up, and I just felt a little bit better. And this is the reason I tell you this story. There's two aspects to this. I mean, I don't tell this story because it doesn't even get me invited to cocktail parties, I'll tell you that. It's not exactly, fun and light and woo. No. I tell you this for two reasons. Our stories, that's the one language we share as human beings. As living things, we have got language and story. That's our language that we always will share in common. And this is why I love TAG so much, because it is the witnessing and sharing of stories that is cathartic. It's what builds us. It's what builds connection. It's what builds community. It's what creates impact. And that is why having a story-driven endeavor like this matters. That's why it's impact. Secondly, there is this thought that I have got to have everything tidied up. Robin Roberts, you all know who Robin Roberts is. She's a master communicator. She says, make your mess your message. You probably all heard it. Any speaker usually knows that phrase. But what I thought was, my message only has value once I've cleaned the mess up. Remember the quote from Elizabeth Gilbert? Sometimes we are making art and magic while we are in our real lives, in the midst of our deepest, darkest season. We don't have to wait till it's all tidied up and a bow put on it. But I thought, I can't coach you, I can't speak, I can't take this microphone, I can't post until I've already got it all dialed in. So then I'm speaking from hindsight, like, oh, look at the wisdom she has. Look at what she's been through. Oh, but now she's all dazzling and amazing. No. In fact, I remember a couple months later during that season, I decided I have a podcast, and I decided I was going to go, and my branding is all real. So you kind of have to show up real when that's your branding. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? We're called to the work we need sometimes. I go on my podcast, and I shared what was going on with me. It wasn't prettied up. I was pretty raw, I was pretty honest, and I admitted I was still kind of in it. I wasn't out of it and could go, ooh, look how much I've grown, I'm amazing. No, I had to just own it, that I was right there in the mess. And I was very scared to do it because I thought, no one's ever gonna hire me. No one's gonna want me to come speak. They're gonna go, basket case, something's wrong with her, blah, 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 right? The things we all worry about. If they really knew what I'm in right now, they wouldn't want me. When in actuality, that might be where our art and our magic and our impact is. And it's not impressive, but we try to gloss it up and fine tune it to make it impressive. And sometimes impact is really what it's about. We sacrifice impact on the altar of trying to be impressive. Go back to real. So that podcast I alluded to had my most clicks, my most downloads, because I was real and I was honest. So it's proof to me that, look, just tell them what's real, tell them what is true. That is what people crave, not the yummy, polished up thing. And so that's what I want to invite you all into. My message is always about offering invitation and permission to do the same thing. Is it possible that all of you who will, if you are a human on this planet, you are going to have difficult seasons. Do you have to necessarily weather that season, tidy it all up, wrap it with its bow, and then suddenly, sorry, Grandma, I keep Grandma with me. Who carries these anymore but me? There we go. See, I'm real. My nose runs when I talk. Can we produce something even in the midst of that difficult season? Yes. And what if that's the impact? And that's what was meant to be produced, was that. So I'll go back to, would someone read me what I read to you from Elizabeth Gilbert? Did someone actually write it down for me? I mean, if not, I'll go read it.
It was in the beginning. We can make both beauty and progress and still live inside our real lives.
Yes, we can make both beauty and progress while still living inside our real lives. And then the second sentence was about art and magic. Damn it. Oh, sorry. No, it's okay. We can create our finest magic and art and simultaneously move through difficult seasons in life. I can't help but wonder if that's also what helps move us through those seasons and doesn't keep us stuck and stagnant. Got all kinds of things going on up here. I implore you, you are creators, you're speakers, you're authors, you're entrepreneurs. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. You have something big and beautiful to offer, and it may be messy, and that is okay. But you are called to impact. You are called to impact. And I offer you permission and invitation to bring your impact. Thank you.
Yeah. All over